Hi and welcome back to Cheeky Crypto, and in today's video we're going to be taking another cheeky look at XRP and specifically the price action over the last few days. Now obviously we have seen a bit of a red week this week, so it's important that we acknowledge what is going on here and why this is important for XRP to take the next step. As we get into the video, if you like it, hit the like button, really appreciate that. If you're new, make sure you subscribe, tap the bell and all that kind of good stuff, and you won't miss another XRP or crypto update. Right, with that out of the way instead, let's get into this analysis and talk about what's going on with XRP. So this is XRP to the USDT pair, right? And this is the weekly chart with Binance as the data source. Now, as always, we do use TradingView, so you can replicate any of this if you want to. Now, on this weekly chart, there's a few things that are really important that we acknowledge, right? The first one is obviously the red candle pulling down and retesting the $1.07 support line. That's holding nicely for us, so that's a really good sign for what is to come. Now, the other thing that we want to acknowledge is obviously how the stochastic relative strength index is no longer oversold in the same way that it was previously, right? We're all the way down here when we reached the bottom of wave 4. We've had a significant run to the upside, but nothing moves in straight lines, so a pullback was due. We were talking about this. So we've actually got to a pretty good position here at 61.5 and 38 on the slow and fast lines. So this is actually a good sign, right? So this actually puts us in a pretty good position with the pullback that was expected. And the other thing that's really important to acknowledge here on the weekly chart is what the future is looking like for XRP. Things are looking very, very good, and the long-term projections are pretty good as well. We have 1,244% in potential gains as we move through the Fibonacci retracement and extension levels. And this basically tops out about $16 for XRP. This is under obviously the circumstances of the all-time high and the low of the bear market, right? Those two parameters on the Fibonacci retracement tool is indicating $16 as your peak. Now, this obviously isn't really given into or taken into consideration the SEC lawsuit against Ripple, but in my opinion, I think that's going to end in a settlement. And we kind of been saying this pretty much from the word go. So even during that lawsuit, there were some fantastic opportunities to basically just dollar cost average better positions, pie up some basic XRP at really dirt cheap prices. And as a result, you would be doing very, very well right now. And again, to me, it doesn't really matter win, lose, draw, settle, you know, security, not security. It is kind of irrelevant because the market will move regardless. As long as there is clarity of what XRP is, whether that is good or positive or bad news, negative news, it generally doesn't matter, right? People are going to trade it one way or another. It does mean, obviously, that the US are just going to be hurting themselves if they do actually, class it as a security. Nowhere else in the world, does that. In the UK, it's an exchange token. It has utility to it. You can exchange it for things. And I think that's ultimately the clarity that the US need to obviously get on board with. And as a result of that, you'll start seeing some significant gains in a similar way that we saw with the Kick Interactive case. So $16 seems, pretty plausible and should be achievable. Of course, if the stars do align, there are obviously price predictions that do take those Fibonacci extension levels up towards $67, but those would be under this kind of scenario where everything lines perfectly for Ripple. They get basically perfect clarity and the banks decide they want to use it. It all becomes public knowledge, and then obviously things really start moving for XRP. Now, it's not impossible. Nothing is impossible, guys, but obviously it does take a lot of alignments and a lot of work in the background to make that happen. And for all those people who say that $16 is not realistic, it's impossible because of market capitalization, I urge you guys to actually do some proper research on what market capitalization is within the crypto space, because it is a simple calculation. It is the last sold price of XRP multiplied by the circulating supply. It is not a representation of the value of XRP, and it is not a representation of the amount of money in a project. Therefore, it is no barrier to actually pushing the price up. There are two factors when it comes to price discovery, and that, of course, is the supply and the demand. So if the demand is there and there is a squeeze on the supply, you can bet your bottom dollar things will start moving to the north. Right, with all that said, let's dive into what has been going on the daily chart, because the daily chart's the really interesting one in terms of these corrections. Now, we were talking about needing a correction for XRP during this overbought stage over here, right? We basically entered overbought on the 23rd of July, and we kind of stayed up there pretty much the entire time with a small dip down here at the beginning of August. And basically we were indicating that we needed to have a correction. We saw this initially over here, which was a fantastic correction coming after we got rejected from the 702. And anyone who watches Blockchain Backer knows the importance of the 702. This 702 area was a clear sign for us, but being overbought at the time did mean that we were going to be pulling back. And as a rejection from there meant coming down, retesting the area of the 618, we got rejected from there, pushed down towards the support level down here of $1.07. Since then, we found further resistance up on the 618, and we really struggled to kind of get above that area there again. Now, we briefly got back into that area, but we have a pullback in the last 2 days, and this is actually taking our stochastic relative strength index to a pretty decent level. We're heading into the oversold area. We're not there yet, but it's very, very close. Now, obviously, when we take a look at the history here, we don't always have to go into the oversold area, but most of the time you do have to kind of expect us to pull back into this area at some point. Now, pulling into the oversold area doesn't mean that you damage the price 100%. It doesn't mean that you're going to drop the price significantly. In fact, you could have a decrease in volume and allow that momentum to completely drop out of your stochastic, bringing you into an oversold area and allowing you to push the price back up. Okay, so what we're looking for here in the next couple of days in the case of XRP is to finish off this correction on that stochastic and then allow us to take over and start moving back up and trying to think about going into that 702 and trying to punch past the 702. Okay, in a realistic world, I think we'll probably find that the resistance level of the 702 will stand. We'll hopefully fall back, find support, a strong support at the 618. That will gear us up and allow us to take over the 702 and look for that final close above the 786. This is $1.44, and getting a closed candle up here, preferably weekly, is going to be the big bull signal that really takes XRP to the next level. So really everything is lining up quite nicely. Good corrections that we've been after and we've been looking for on, of course, our RSI. Now, in terms of some correction waves, I know lots of people will probably be talking about ABCs and things like that. You could, of course, assume that there is an A wave, a B wave, and then you'll be looking for a C wave that might actually take you back down to some of these lower areas. Now, again, this is a fantastic theory. Obviously, you know, we use Elliott theory all the time. So ABC correction waves are something that we are kind of often kind of think about. Again, you know, just because it's a possible scenario doesn't necessarily mean that it is going to happen. So we're really going to be watching after what happens next after we kind of start to move back to the upside in the next day or so to see whether or not our candle wicks are actually going to wick above the 702. In doing that, we will invalidate the correction. There will be no wave C in that scenario. So we're going to be mindful over that. If not, then we should be looking to find good support. And I think we're going to find it if I actually just throw that back on for a second. So if we take that ABC correction for XRP here, we should find that the C wave can go down probably to about 96 cents in that scenario. And in doing so, that would take us into a very good correction down on the oversold area, and that would allow us to basically moon well above the 786 and start to take about those other areas. So it's so important though, guys, even if we do start to see these kind of ABC correction waves actually happen, then, you know, we obviously have to make sure that we zoom out. We don't freak out thinking that it's a bear trap or a bull trap or anything like this, right? It's important that we basically focus in on what's happening on the bigger picture, because we're going to see a lot of waves on the smaller time frames, on the daily, on the hourly, but sometimes they're only actually a part of what is happening inside, of course, the bigger impulse waves. So when we actually take a look at the impulse waves on the weekly chart, for example, this correction is just a part of the fifth wave. We've already had, you know, a good stint to the upside, you know, 5 impulse waves within our push to the upside initially, the ABC correction, and then we'll look for a third wave inside of that. So again, everything here is just kind of what you would expect to happen during a normal cycle, and it's not an indication of a bear market. Okay, so do not panic if you do start to see XRP slide. This is just another opportunity to buy the dip and look for strong support lines. This would be 96.4 if that scenario plays out. And again, guys, if we do actually go above that 702, above the $1.34, that would invalidate our ABC, and therefore we'd actually be pushing on up. So again, it's important that we acknowledge where our support levels are and where we might start to see some slippage. Now, obviously, if we do drop below $1.07, that would be an indication that, yes, we should probably be expecting that a C wave to be completed down there at 96 cents. But if our $1.07 was to hold hypothetically, then and actually start to move back to the upside, I would say that that is not in play and the ABC is invalidated and we should start looking further forward. Likewise, if we start moving up and we take out the 702, that again would invalidate that ABC correction. So again, pay attention to what's going on, understand what's there, but otherwise don't act on anything just yet. Ultimately, you will know once you start breaking some of these support and resistance lines, and likelihood is that actually we're going to start moving up before we get anywhere down towards the 96 cent, and this is because we're almost oversold. So in my personal opinion, I don't think we're going to see 96 cent. I think we'll have a small correction coming in here. We'll find good support on $1.07 if we need it, and then I think we're going to be moving on back up again. So I don't think we are going to see that C wave, but I did want to acknowledge it. I know lots of people and lots of comments in the sections on our videos talking about ABC waves, etc., etc. Do want to acknowledge that there is one here, but I don't think it's going to play out in the way that many people are thinking that it's going to. With all that said, let's jump down into our. I may actually just delete that one off. Actually, I'll leave it on the daily. Let me just let me take those off so we can just keep it on there, right? So on the hourly chart, this is where we start to see some of the other moves that have been happening here. So we can see the breakdown from this area, and obviously we can see that we're already in this oversold area, right? So the expectation of trying to pull down all the way into that C wave in one motion is unlikely. So in fact, we're more than likely going to start to see a push to the upside in the next 24 hours. Again, probably coming and entering up towards our yellow box area there. And again, you know, we would be looking for small pullbacks on that journey as well. But again, aligning where we are with our daily stochastic, with our hourly stochastic, and of course knowing the bigger picture on the weekly, we're all very much gearing up to move up rather than down. So a C wave isn't likely, and that's not part of what we're seeing here inside of our hourly. It's not really a part of what we're seeing inside of our daily chart. It's possible, but very unlikely. It's not probable in my opinion, but we do have to be mindful over it. With everything else going on here though, we are looking to push up on the smaller time frames. We are looking to push up on the daily, although we have to first of all pull back a little bit. We are still, of course, not oversold just yet, so we look to calm down a little bit on the daily. So we'll look for some really short-term gains to be made on the hourly chart, but in a bigger picture, those hourly gains will actually be a negative on our daily. So overall, will actually be a declining trend on our hourly chart. That will form and finish off our correction of our daily. And then again, our daily, as that gets built up into another bullish move back to the upside, will help form what is going on with our weekly chart. And guys, it's always important that we do zoom out and we acknowledge what is going on here. We've broken a good key support level. This is holding well for us at the moment. We are moving up. The first target that we want to be talking about is, of course, $2.87. That is the likely scenario once we get past the 786. That's the one that we're going to be really going after. And again, guys, it's important that we acknowledge that there's about 1,244% in gains to the top of the Fibonacci retracement and extension of the 4.236 for XRP. So lots of upside. With this particular project, I think there's some fantastic things going on in the space all around XRP in general. The lawsuit with the SEC has definitely been entertaining. So yeah, let us know in the comments below what you think the outcome of that's going to be. I think it's going to be a settlement, but I'd be interested to know if anyone else has any other opinions on that. Guys, if you have found this a brief update on XRP useful and informative, do go ahead and hit that like button. I really do appreciate it. If you're new, do subscribe, tap the bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you won't miss another XRP update. Guys, with this said, done, and out of the way, I hope everyone has a fantastic day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.